Welcome back, everybody, to the CHG podcast.
What's
That is
up?
David. My name is RJ. We're the Casual Hardcore Gamers, the Gamer Boys, and this is our podcast where we try to talk about gaming stuff going on in the industry or what's going on in hopefully intellectual but yet funny ways. We try at least. So yeah, we're gonna get right into it with what we're playing. It's probably gonna be the same as what it was last week. Um, I'm gonna guess for you, David. It starts with a E, and then it ends with a G.
Starts with an E, ends with a ring. Yeah, no,
Starts with an E, ends with a ring.
I hit a wall
Uh-oh.
with a quest line I was doing. It's like the longest quest line in the game,
Oh.
and I got through one really tough boss, and then it's the last part of it. You just need to beat this one last boss, and it is destroying me. Like, to the point where, like, you know how, like, most of the time you get destroyed by a hard boss, but you're like, okay, like, I got this. Like, I just gotta do this a little differently and this a little differently, and then it leaves you some hope. There's no fucking hope. Like, this guy had every single one of his moves one shots me.
Oh, damn, son.
And if that wasn't worse enough, so, like, when you enter the arena, he's like on the other side of the map, and he has a laser beam that just like, you can dodge it pretty easily, like, once you get the timing down. But like, you have these things called ashes in the game, summoning ashes, which is like a NPC you can summon, but that's like really weak. It's not like normal NPCs that you can summon in the games. But what they do is they soak up his aggro. But because it's all the way on the other side of the map, you can summon them, but they don't trigger. Like, they don't go and try to aggro, and so they can stand in there. So I gotta, like, fucking roll, and they're always slow. The summons you are, and this motherfucker teleports. So, like, I'll be locking onto him, and I'll hit him with an attack, and then he'll just disappear, and it's an empty arena. It's just a blank space. And all of a sudden, like, so I'm whipping my camera around trying to find him, because he does one of two things. He teleports and then hits you with that laser, or he'll teleport right behind you and do an instant death grab attack.
Oh.
Like I think if my character was spec'd a little bit differently, I could tank some of those hits. But because I'm a mage, like, I'm like almost level 100 now. And I've only my vigor is only up to like 22, because I have like 60 in intelligence. I have like 35 in mind for focus points. Like, that's all I put into it. And then I put some into faith too, because I was like, I want some stuff that can heal me. So I have some spells that can heal me. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to power level for a while.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. That's all I'm hearing. That's all I'm hearing is, you
I'm
gotta
gonna
go
have to power
grind. You gotta
level
grind
for
a
a
bit.
while. Yeah,
You gotta go grind a
it
bit.
sucks, because after that you get the Dark Moon Greatsword, and I really want it.
But I want it.
Yeah,
That
so.
sucks. Well,
Oh,
hey,
and then
I'm sure it's
there was an update, and they buffed one of my they nerfed one of my spells that I use a lot. Like, it's still good. It still works for what it is.
Is it the OP one?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually just heard I was streaming a little bit right before this, we're recording this podcast, and my mod, she plays Elden Ring, or she plays it. She's also in, like, the no hit community, the speedrun community. She doesn't do them, but she's, like, really invested and interested in it. So she knows about it, and someone else joined my stream who's playing Elden Ring, and he's all up in that community too. So they were just nerding out about the buffs and nerfs and like this. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just playing Neo, guys. Just leave me alone. But I did see in the comments that they had that an update did come out, and they had nerfed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they
bunched
a whole bunch of stuff too. They bunched a whole bunch of stuff too. And like, even the OP thing that they nerfed, it still works. It might not melt bosses the same way, but so it probably had like a 10% damage reduction.
Okay.
So I mean,
sometimes
significant but not killer.
What I do know is that from Neo at least, even small little buffs can make a big difference. Because in Neo 1 and 2, when those games that came out, obviously people were just taking advantage of all these broken mechanics. And it was just killing it. We were having a good old time. And then like Team Ninja was like, okay, we're gonna, when they would do updates, they'd be like gigantic patch updates, bro. Like just listen, all types of things. And then like this, and this, and they'd be like, that's it, meta's done, meta's over, we can't do this anymore. And like they just nerfed this to hell. Can't even play the game anymore. And I don't remember what they would nerf, but it wouldn't even be like gigantic nerfs, but it'd be enough to where it's like this is now unviable. So, but hey, if you're saying it works, I'll take your word for it. I don't play Elden Ring, but hey,
yeah, at least it works sure enough for me. So
what you're saying though is basically just all part of the course, man. For Elden Ring, I'm sure. I mean, your story is not unique amongst Elden Ring players at all. Cool. Well, so yeah, same thing with him. That's probably what's going to be his game. He's playing for a while. Yeah, so I'm still playing that Anima Gated Memories game. I have more information, bro. This game keeps giving me more info. So first of all, like I said before, I confirmed there are 5 endings. It is called the worst, bad, true, which is a good ending. True, and then there's early ending, and then there's joke ending. And the joke in the early endings are, I imagine if you are somehow some kind of Anima Gated Memories fucking MOG Pro player, you could get them in your first playthrough, but it is much more recommended to do it on your New Game Plus because you have all your equipment and everything and all that stuff, so you can start off basically as buffed as you were when you started the game. But the funny thing about those 2 endings is that, so the first one, the early ending, is so when you're going through some tutorial levels and then you fight you fight 2 bosses, but the main one is the one afterwards. But it's one of those bosses where like you're technically not supposed to beat them. Yeah. You're technically just supposed to just survive and do your thing until like this arbitrary invisible timer goes off, and then he's like, oh man, then like the cutscene happens, you progress through the game. But you can beat him. And that's why I say recommend New Game Plus, because you have all this magic skills and attack skills, and you have like your accessories, you can buff yourself up, so it'll allow you to beat him in the time allotted. And so I did that, and so you'll beat it, and he thinks you're a bad guy. He thinks you're trying to like do something he's trying to prevent. Mm-hmm. But when you win and you do the thing, you grab the thing that he's trying to grab too, and he's like, "Wait, you wanted to not do the thing?" And he was like, "Yeah, I didn't want to do it." But she didn't even know. She's like so clueless. She doesn't know the bigger picture of what's going on behind the scenes. She's just been told like you need to stop these people, and she's like, "Okay, I'll do it." So she doesn't know all this conspiracy shit and all this other stuff going behind the scenes. So she just knows that she's supposed to just do the thing. They set her up. The big people set her up to grab the thing, knowing that she wouldn't be able to. It was on purpose. They knew she wouldn't be able to do it at first, so it would play into their hand. But she doesn't know that. But if you beat him and you get it, and you go to your main guy and you're like, "My lord, we stopped him and we got the book back," and he's like, "Wait, what? You did? I mean, great job.
Never doubted you.
Never doubted you for a second." And then the game ends. And then he's like, and then like when you leave, the dude's like having a monologue with himself, and he's like, "Was all those sacrifices all for naught? Was everything I did, was everything I planned just gone to waste now? Because the whole thing was for her not to do this." So she ends up in this spot, and then she takes out those 5 people that he wants her to take out, and all this shit. And it just plays into like a scheme that he's concocted. But now none of that's gonna happen because she stopped it from the very get-go. And so he's like, "Huh. All right, well, I guess we're back to square one." So that's the quick ending, the short ending, right? And if you play it right, it goes on for like 45 minutes. That's like because it's the first major boss of the game. He's like 45 minutes into the game. But the joke ending, which is not even fucking a joke ending, I thought it was gonna be something akin to like Resident Evil 2 with the dog. Not Resident Evil, sorry, mm-hmm. Silent Hill 2. I'm sorry, Silent Hill 2 with the dog. All that shit. Mm-hmm. But even that ending is brutal too, because you have to go through the whole damn game to do. Oh no, I think you have to go through the game a few times before you can actually. Because I read the guide on it because I was just curious. You have to go through the game like a few times before you can actually get the items you need to trigger that ending. But so I thought it was gonna be something like that, right? It was gonna be maybe like the boss was gonna be like laughably easy or something, or joke. I'm expecting something to be a joke, right? The ending cutscene is a bit of a joke, but it is a fucking trudge to get there. So first things first, you have to play the game as normally. So you don't beat that boss. You do the thing as the story wants you to do, and then you get put into the main hub of the world. And then from there, you're going through some rooms and stuff, and then you go into an area where normally you go into there. It's like a white void type of space, and then some other NPC pulls you out and says, you don't want to go there or go further into there because it's not safe for you. And you normally just go. But again, you don't have to. You can actually just keep going and following the path. And when you follow the path, your dude that you're with, he'll tell you like straight up, like, hey, we should listen to that NPC. And I'm like the greatest demon that's ever lived. Like I'm telling you, you want to get out of there because she ain't fucking around. She's not kidding. Whatever's out there, I don't know what it is, but whatever's there, we're not ready. I'm not ready. You're not ready. We're not ready. We ain't got our mascara on yet. We ain't put the weave on yet. We are not ready to go out. Okay. But you can just be like, fuck you. I'll do what I want. And so just continue on. And he'll tell you again, he'll be like, I'm not going to ask you again. We need to get out of here. And she's like, whatever, dad. I do what I want. And then you continue on to the portal. It just transports you into, one of the late game bosses of the game, and then you have to fight him, and then if you win, a different cutscene plays out that's different than when you do it normally. And then it's that dude from the first game, because you fight him like 3 times in the game. You fight him, it takes you to the third fight, the final fight with him right away, and you beat him, and he's like, oh, it's too late, blah blah blah. And then you get transported into the final boss of the game, back to back, both those back to back. And if you didn't get any items beforehand, which I don't even think you have the ability to get items yet, you have to just use what you got. So if you don't have any health potions or not enough, you better get good with the sticks, because you won't have many things given to you. And so luckily though, there was a checkpoint between the 2 bosses, so you don't have to do both if you die, because I did die on the second boss the first time. But I think I got him the second time. But it was like the longest fucking fight, because I was too scared to, like, because you can use magic at range, and that was a safer bet for me. But it took a lot longer. But I was like, I don't have the health potions to bring me back to health to go in close. Because again, you can't block in this game, guys. You can only dodge, and it doesn't always dodge you from everything. So it took a long time. It was like a 10-15 minute fight, which seems longer when you're in the fight than when you're out the fight. Yeah. Seems a lot longer. So I beat him, and then so you beat him, right? And you still beat the final boss before you beat any of the other guys that the main dude who concocted all this wants you to do. So you still didn't do the other stuff he wants you to do, but you come to him and you say, my lord, we have vanquished this and this, and we fought this being. Because if you play the game normally, you'll find out who this is. You'll find out who that guy is. You'll know. So like you go like, okay, it's the final battle. You know it's the final battle. You'll know what's up, and you go in appropriately. But this is like, you don't know what the fuck's going on. The characters, like when the cutscene starts, they're like, I don't know what that is, but they seem powerful, so we have to beat it. So you don't even know. You don't even know, which is it's smart. At least that's narratively smart though. Like they know, like they act accordingly. Like if you hadn't played through the game, if you had played through the game, then you would know. But if you didn't play through the game, you don't know who that is. So they act accordingly, which is good. So you go to the Lord, and he's just dumbfounded. He has like this weird face that they made for him, and he's supposed to be like he's like called the High Inquisitor of like the Supreme Order, something super like medieval and fantasy. He has like the biggest fucking robe with like feathers on it, and it looks like made out of gold and shit. His hair's all nice and smooth and slicked back. He's like that kind of guy. And then his name's Romeo. I mean, come on, like. So like he just stands there with like that kind of face, and he says, "You did what?" And then you keep saying, and like you say some more things, and he just says it 2 more times. He just with the same face. You said what? And in the book, the main guy who's like a book, he's like, I think he's going senile. I think we need to go get him some help. And he's like, wait, no, sorry, I didn't mean that. I was thinking about church stuff. Yes, Yes, you may go now. There's nothing more needed of you. And then you leave, and then he just like looks up at the like high up in the screen, but kind of like at us because for the cameras, and he's like, "What the hell was that?" And then it just fades to black, and I'm like, "What? That's the ending? That's the?" I had to go through 2 bosses, and they're not any easier than they were before. They're still very hard. They're still very, very hard. And it's like I went through all that just to get our dude have like a robotic nervous breakdown on me and just like almost glitch into the Matrix. Like that's what I got. Okay. But anyway, so that was the ending. So I got those, but I had to beat the game one more time, but properly in New Game Plus because those two endings don't count in New Game Plus. That kind of sucks, but they don't count. So yeah, I got to play through the game and get the I can get any of the other 3 endings. So I'm like. But since I know where everything's at, I got through like you can get the first regular ending if you just by beating 4 out of the 5 main baddies, and then you can fight, and then you can progress through the main game. I'm gonna do that one, and I'm already got through three of them, so I'll probably finish that tonight. But yeah. But here's the thing. So this property started in 2005. I didn't know that. Like it's based off a tabletop RPG, and it started in 2005, and it's actually I think it's Spanish. It's a Spanish made game, like from Spain, and so I think that's right. I think I read that right, Spain. And there was actually a game before this one for the Wii, exclusively for the Wii, back in like 2011. Weird. Very strange. And so that was the first proper video game that was made, or at least home console. I think there might have been some mobile games, but the first proper home console game for this property. And that came out. Don't know how it did. Probably didn't do well. It was the Wii. I mean, come on. If it didn't have a Nintendo license with it, it probably didn't do too hot. But so yeah, that happened, and then this game is the next one, the one I'm playing now, is the second one, and then there's the DLC that I mentioned that became its own game. I'll play that next. I actually own it, and now there's actually a new one based off this property for the PS5 and Xbox Series X and all that shit that's coming out. I think this year or the year after. Yeah, and I'm like, what? like holy! But somehow this one looks worse than the previous one. Like visually, I think it's just too much contrast for me. Like it's a lot brighter than the previous game or than the game I'm playing. Like it's a lot more colorful and shit. But like it just looks visually a little less impressive. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So that's all the information I found out. I'm just like, this game just keeps surprising me. Like it just. All this shit I'm just finding out and all that stuff.
Got a history you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, man. Like it's just weird when you find all that stuff. It's like, wow, this actually goes back farther than you think, right? Like for instance, like for a lot of people, they don't like Shantae, the half genie hero or the half genie. Are you familiar with that? Like it's like that it's like that genie that genie chick with like the purple hair. Yeah. Like well, some people don't know that like she goes back to the 90s. She goes back to like the Genesis or like the Super Nintendo days. But and like you wouldn't know that if you just like saw her. You would think it was like something made like within the last decade. And like, nah, man, it goes back decades, plural. But anyways, yeah. So that's that. And, and I booted up this new game, and it's another one of them indie games, bro. One of the indie racing games. It's called Super Toy Cars, and it is so. Okay, so a while ago I played this game called Meow Motors, which I got a lot of shit for, and I thought that game was pretty bare bones. This game's even more bare bones. It's even more like it's like one of those like it's like an RC toy car type of game. Like oh what's it's like Trackmania maybe or something like that. And there's another indie game that came out some years ago called Tabletop Racing, which that game's actually not bad. Honestly, that game's actually not bad at all. But like so it's like among that ilk of racing games. Man, it is. Oh gosh, yeah. Like it's not bad. It's not hard or anything, but it's just like how bare bones can you get with the racing game? You know what I mean? Like there's just no effort put into this. And I've been starting to realize now I'm playing more of these type of indie titles, smaller titles. I've been able to notice like even when a game is bad, maybe mechanically or boring or something like that, I can now sense the passion in a game. I can sense the effort that devs put into a game. Like I'm now noticing that better. I have a better eye for that. And because there's some games I played that mechanically were kind of trash. Like there was this third person game I had played. What was it called? I forget what it's called, but it was a third person shooter and stuff, and it didn't look good. The contrast was fucking everywhere, which made it kind of jarring to look at. The movement was kind of stilted. It was not that fluid. The shooting was a little dodgy. But I knew that there was passion because, like, in the narrative that they gave all the characters and who you talk to and stuff like that, I could tell, like, it wasn't just they weren't just trying to just do bare bones. They were trying to put some personality in the characters. They were actually trying to put some real effort into the dialogue. And so I was like, okay, game trying to trash, but I can feel that the people really cared about this. So I'll continue moving on, because, like, it's kind of like when you watch someone and you can, like, you may not like what they're talking about, might not care, but they're so charismatic that you listen anyways. Same thing. The passion is so there that I'll play it anyway. I'll keep pushing through just to see the end, because they obviously cared, and I care because they cared. And so, and like with this anime game, it's really weird, really quirky. Like, in the combat's all right, but it definitely has a lot that they could improve on. But I could tell that they put so much effort into this title, so I'm like, I'll fucking keep playing it because there's that, But this toy car game, I'm gonna finish it because trophies, but I'm not gonna like it. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we're doing. David, do you have a question you'd like to ask for today? Like a little fun question? I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh, jeez.
What's something that's been on your mind that you'd like to ask?
Bro, you know what's been going on in my life. I haven't been thinking about shit. Not video game related, that's for sure. Let's see. No, man, I don't got nothing.
As you know, guys, we don't rehearse anything over here. Let me see here, because we're recording these back like 2 days in a row, so we haven't had a whole time to think about a bunch of stuff. Because yesterday we talked about our favorite, like, fantasy games that we would love to play, or that we would love to have made, but that ain't never gonna happen. You know what? Maybe we might skip it, because I know what the main topic is. I want to talk about the main topic. I already know what that is. We'll probably skip it, and also we're kind of short on time anyways. So we talked about this here and there multiple times in other topics, but I kind of wanted to revisit like microtransactions and such.
Okay.
And because, like, we've it comes up all the time in other things and other podcasts, right? Because it's just so now prevalent in this world. But I kind of want to talk about it again and kind of like have us re-talk about our thoughts about it, because I mean, we allude to it sometimes about how, like, our thoughts are different on, like, loot boxes, microtransactions, and such. But I don't think I don't think we've dedicated a sole amount of time to go over our differences about it. I mean, they differ a little bit, not drastically, but they do differ a bit. And maybe just give a little more insight into that. Now, I will say that I know microtransactions and loot boxes kind of get grouped together, but they are a little bit different, in my opinion, because you can have games that don't have loot boxes, but they have microtransactions, right? And so they are a little bit different. And so
there's no RNG with some microtransactions.
Yeah, microtransactions don't have RNG. It is what it is. It is a small transaction. Will generally draw a small transaction that tells you exactly what it is. It's basically DLC. DLC. Microtransactions are basically DLC, whereas loot boxes, that's where you have your chance. And so I will say, I think I have more of a disdain for loot boxes than I do microtransactions. And that's because, at least with microtransactions, you know exactly what is going on, right? You know it clearly what you're going in for, how much it costs, what the purpose is. I think there's more transparency with those than there are with a loot box, right? A loot box just seems a little bit more schemy, a little more grimy, in my opinion. And so those ones I don't really like as much. I still understand their purpose and why they're here, but those I don't like as much. Have you ever thought about the difference between them, or do you loop them together yourself?
No, I mean, like, they're definitely different. I would say that like you can do both of them the best you can, and then you can do both of them really, really poorly. So I think like any kind of let's start on microtransactions. Like any kind of microtransactions that are pay to win is just a bad thing for a game. Period. Um, I think that anything where there's a secondary market is also bad, in my opinion, because then you have some items that are priced out of people's like uh what they can get. So there might be an armor set that is one of 100 or whatever, and then it's only available on the secondary market, and then that secondary market has it priced stupid high because people are ridiculous. So like it can be done wrong too. I like you said, because you know what you're getting. I think it's a little bit better with loot boxes and the like. I think that again, like if it there's a couple things I don't like about like inherently about loot boxes. If I was going to get them, if I was going to use loot boxes, there's things that I don't want my loot box to do, and that would be like, one is repeat items. Like once you get something, you should not get it again. And then another thing is they also, some loot boxes will just like the most common thing to get in some loot boxes are just more currency for the loot box, but like less than what you paid for. So it's like you give them $1, you get 75 back, like 75 cents back. Like it should always be a cosmetic thing like that you don't have. It might be like a common, which is also kind of stupid, but at least it's something you didn't have before. That's that would be my thing. I think obviously I can make other rules that would make it a lot a lot better. So like take any of the sport ones, for example, their team builder ones, Madden Ultimate Team and
the Ultimate Team basically.
Yeah, the Ultimate Team modes. To make that a lot like basically in Madden Ultimate or FIFA or whatever, if you don't have all like 99 legendary players, you're going to lose. And people pay for that. I think what would be better is that you can only have, and again, they wouldn't do this because then it would, their money would go down the drain from people buying a whole bunch more. But like you could only have, two, depending on the sport, like a limited amount of legendary players, and then the rest had to be like rares, and then a certain amount had to be commons. That way, the teams are a little bit more balanced, like in real life. Like you have like a star quota, so you can only go up to this amount of stars. So like you could, let's say you could do 3 legendary players, but then the rest of your players have to be commons, or you can do 2 and then have 2 legendaries and 3 rares and then the rest commons. Like I think that would be a cooler thing because one, it adds more to the game of you actually having to manage, who you want, what legendary players at what positions do you want, and it allows people who maybe can't, they can afford, or they've won, a lot of rare players, so they can play with a bunch of rare players, but maybe just they haven't been able to get or couldn't afford a legendary player yet. So I think that it would be a lot more balanced, but they'll never do it because they make way too much money on
but that's I never thought about it because I don't care about sports teams, board games or anything. But that's an interesting proposition. Obviously, that will make it more balanced for sure. It would kind of turn into like a proper card game almost, right? Like a strategy game. Like you're making it seem like
Yu-Gi-Oh, you're not gonna have a deck full of 8 stars, Yu-Gi-Oh cards because you can't play like that. Like you have to have 1 through 4 stars to be able to summon.
I would love to agree with you, but honestly, you can.
Oh yeah, through certain
mechanics. I'm sorry. I don't mean to kill you there, but once upon a time that was true. Yes,
that's true. I haven't played it. I haven't played it since like the OG rule set. So.
Yeah, bro, it's brutal out there, man. These streets are crazy. Them Yu-Gi-Oh streets are no joke now, man. Like, because I mean, you still need low level monsters for sure, but you can play a couple monsters and just special summon boss monster right away, or like use a magic or trap card, summon boss card right away. Like it's or like, you know, big monster or whatever, right, from like your extra deck or whatever like that. You can do that nowadays. It's nutty. It is absolutely nutty. So I don't mean to, but I get your point though. Like once upon a time you could do that, but regardless, though, it still would put a little more strategy into the game and maybe make it a lot more fun. But what I was thinking though was that like people like obviously like EA is just taking advantage of the situation of like, you know, people they're just providing the service. People want to do it. They don't care, right, necessarily about the cost of things and this and that. What I'm thinking is that like if you put those restrictions, they would still make money because people would still buy. Like people would still. That's not going to stop people from buying, right? Because these people just don't care. They want Madden, Ultimate Team, FIFA Ultimate, and they will buy this shit. They don't care. So I imagine even with those restrictions, even if you could only put so many, they would still buy. I know the profits would go down, but there would still be substantial profits just because of just the nature of this like purchasing base of people. So it's just they just want to get as much as they possibly can, which sucks. But I'm just like, they could still make profit and make the people a little bit happier, not by much, but a little bit happier, because then it'll be like at least a little bit more balance with this. But then again, also it's called Ultimate Team, and so people might think like, is it really Ultimate Team if I can't have an Ultimate Team of legendaries in my squad or whatever? Like, so it might go against the entire purpose of that name, but I still like that premise, and I think it's really good. And like, and that kind of just goes into the thing of like, you know, there are people who will always be bitter and just, you know, that Simpson meme, old man yells at the sky or whatever. Who are just, they just don't want any of it in any game at any time ever, right? And that, hey, more power to you, right? Because I mean, I understand where you're coming from. We grew up in that time as well, where like that wasn't even like, what does that even mean? You know, expansions were like a alien thing when we grew up, right? And that was and that was really only catered to PC games most of the time. So we get it. We understand where you're coming from, but it's just, nowadays you just have to, but you can do it right. They can just be there. Like you can just have, well, maybe not loot boxes, but the microtransactions, or MTX as they're abbreviated, you can just have them there. And if they are just for cosmetic shit, or maybe like for some extra booster shit for like, I don't know, online or some offline shit that's not imperative to like the experience of, or detrimental to the experience of the game, then I don't think they're doing any harm. And that's why I don't mind them, like in most games. Now I know sometimes, and the issue that some people might have with like what I'm saying is that, because like I don't play games a lot of times at launch, and so when we've had instances of games with MTXs doing it wrong, they get patched out, but I wasn't there to see the initial damage. Right, I might have heard about it, but I didn't experience it. For instance, two examples come to mind. Deus Ex Human, what was it? Was it Human Revolution or one? What was the latest one? What was that one called? Mankind Divided. Mankind Divided. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and then Shadows of War, Middle Earth Shadows of War. Both of those games came under hot fire or hot water, but came under fire because they had MTXs in the games, but they were a little bit too egregious, especially.
And that's the thing, though. I played Shadow War at launch.
Okay.
And although, yes, it was in your face, you didn't need them. Like, I played the entire game, beat the entire game, had a hell of a time, too. And I never bought any of the transactions. It definitely reminds you, but you don't need to.
Then I guess that example comes down to, if I may try to make a similarity, it's like, for example, GameStop. We'll use GameStop as a good example. Let's say you have an overzealous employee who was a company man, or a suck up, one or the other, both work. And well, I'm not using you particularly,
No.
but has like, and they're
If anyone knew,
and they are an assistant manager under David, under David, and they are trying to sell you the GameStop Pro card, and even though you don't need it, that man
don't want it,
but you definitely don't need it to make your purchase, to buy what you need to buy and get on your way. He's around you every other corner to remind you that you can get it, and if you do, it'll save you some money on the purchase you're trying to make. So you would get pissed. You know you don't need it. You know you can still do what you need to do. Maybe it'll be a little bit more expensive otherwise, but you can still get on your way with no problem. But he's just annoying the fuck out of you every step of the way. And so even though you got what you needed and you were successful in what you wanted to do, it was an annoying way all the way through. So that's like kind of what it is, right? Like it's like you may not have been forced to buy something, but you also don't want to have that person or game be reminding you of the thing you could possibly do every half hour or every other hour. Mm-hmm. And that's where that gets that's why, right? So even though the game doesn't even though that particular game doesn't make it to where the game was set up from the get-go to where it expects you to buy this shit because it's purposely harder for no reason, only because you didn't buy this. Even though it didn't do that, it was still, like you said, in your face. And so even though the game was great, the game was fun, and you didn't need it, you also don't want it everywhere you go. You don't want that messaging everywhere you go. Just maybe once, show it to me one time, maybe show it, maybe have it pop up in the main menu when you go back to the main menu. Maybe have it there, but just off to the side, and that's it. That's all you want. Is all you need. Just like a customer doesn't need to have you tell me one time that there's a pro card, and that's it. Maybe you remind me one time when I make the purchase at the register, but that's it. Never. I don't want it again. No one wants that again. No one wants to be reminded of it 20 times and then told that they're not a good shopper and not a good gamer because they don't get it, and then tell the entire rest of the store that this guy's an idiot and then sell him an offhanded controller because of it. Okay, nobody wants that. And by the way, that was a true story. Nobody wants that at all. So it's still bad. It's still bad. But the bigger thing obviously was that those two games were single player predominantly. I think only single player.
Yeah, and that was the first kind of reach into it. Too,
yeah,
so.
and
reaching the single player.
And that was another big thing about it too. We thought it was only relegated to online stuff, but now it's now it's in my single player shit and everything, and it's gosh.
Now something I heard, What Culture was talking about it, is that
good old What Culture.
Good old What Culture. Our friends at What Culture.
Sponsor us, please.
A YouTube channel sponsoring another YouTube channel.
Hell yeah.
But no, so to bring up Elden Ring again.
Good old Elden Ring. All right.
It has sold like crazy.
I said that yesterday in our podcast the other day. Yeah, 12 million copies. 12 million copies so far.
Which we didn't say yesterday, but that's more than the last two Call of Duties have sold.
Wait, was that what it is? I didn't hear the exact thing, but I read it was it was a top. It broke some records.
Yes.
It was beating out shit. It had no right to be. Yes.
Yeah, it outsold the last two, Call of Duty Vanguard and Call of Duty. What was the one before that?
World War II?
Modern Warfare? World War II? No.
Wait, no, Vanguard.
No, Vanguard is the World War II one.
No, Vanguard is the fucking. Wait, is that Warzone?
Vanguard is the latest.
Cold War Black Ops. Cold War Black Ops.
Yeah, and Cold War.
Okay.
And Cold War. So it outsold both of them.
Really? They sold less than 12 million copies?
Yeah.
Oh man.
According to What Culture.
These kids these days don't know, man. They don't know. They don't know the glory days of hold on, tangent. The glory days of Call of Duty. Oh man. David, you were there. You played them. You know. Man. Today's kids who are playing Black Ops and Warzone and Vanguard today, these young teenagers, man, they don't 10 years ago. Oh man. Activision was talking mad shit too. I don't know if you remember. Activision used to talk mad shit about Call of Duty releases, bro. Maybe some of you guys remember too. Like you would be expecting like an article the next day after a Duty launch for Activision to like announce their sales figures. You know, like I remember Modern Warfare 2 came out and they were like, we sold 10 million copies overnight.
I pulled specifically Modern Warfare 2 up. In the first 24 hours, it sold 4.7 million.
One day. All right, one day.
In one day. And then it sold in total 25.02 million.
You see what I mean? Like one day, and like that was back in the day, like 9 o'clock, midnight releases, proper midnight launches. Bro, it was no joke. You go to Modern Warfare 2, man. Like they were like, we made $500 million off this launch in like a week. And I'm like, God damn, son. And then like Black Ops 1 will come out, sold $550 million off this launch because of zombie mode. And we're just like, oh my gosh, like the gravy train just don't end. And then Modern Warfare 3 came out, dropped good numbers. Black Ops 2 dropped good numbers. But then like around Black Ops 2 era, I noticed they stopped giving exact sales numbers, like unit numbers. And I was like, uh-oh. uh-oh. Is that gravy train finally starting to kind of slow down a bit? And now 10 years later, we're at Vanguard, and it can't even sell double digit millions like it used to.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
sorry, that was I got so excited just talking about the good old days of Duty. Oh man.
So you look at a game like Elden Ring, and it's kind of the power of social media too, because it's been everywhere. Yeah. Like we said last week, it's been everywhere on social media.
All types of social media too. It doesn't matter what platform. I've seen that shit on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't ever see any gaming shit on Facebook. I'm seeing it on this.
So like, but it has no microtransactions. It's probably going to have one DLC if it's anything like
an expansion. Yeah, an expansion.
Like in the other Dark Souls games.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not going to. It's a completely formed game. So, and it's doing really well. Now the question is how much money is it going to make? How much net profit is it going to make in comparison to things like Call of Duty and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But it shows that, EA's assertion that, single player games are dead is wrong. I think we knew that when they said it. But
and that was like
things like
5 or 6 years ago when they said that too. And we knew.
Yeah.
We knew.
Yeah. But game, success stories like this, like Spider-Man and stuff like that, God of War, will continue to show that it's not. Now, Spider-Man and God of War in comparison to Elden Ring is nothing, because I think they both sold like in the single digit.
I don't remember what Spider-Man's, but God of War's was like 6 or 7 mil.
Yeah, somewhere around the 5 mil mark, a little bit more. A little bit, a million more.
A million more.
But it's doable. So I have hope that things might get turned around in that aspect. But we'll have to see. It at least is a breath of fresh air that a game came out, did gangbusters, that didn't have a single hint of a microtransaction. I think even God of War had some like minor microtransaction. No, nothing?
I don't think so.
I thought there was some.
No.
Anyway.
No.
But, not a single hint of microtransaction, just a game that like we were saying, last time, is a niche, supposedly a niche kind of
supposed
game.
Supposed to be.
That is, and apparently What Culture was going over trophy data and stuff like that. And 70% of the people who have played Elden Ring beat the second boss. So not even the first boss that people were like having all that trouble with and we're saying that, this is way too hard. They beat Godric, the second boss. So
that's good.
70%, that's pretty good. I mean,
that's very high. That's very high for a Souls game.
And depending, like, with how much like you would have to play to level up properly, that's at least, I would say, probably like 10, 15 hours, which I guess in like the grand scheme of that whole game is not a lot, because
you scratched the surface. That's scratching the surface.
But at the same time, like, that's still a lot. So it shows that people are willing to play a game like that, that there's interest for like new innovative things. Like they were saying that I don't think they touched enough on the fact that this really is just Dark Souls. Like, it's not, they didn't change that much. Like, they made it a little bit more accessible because you don't have to, like, you could go somewhere else if something's just kicking your ass. Stuff like that. And they made it open world, which is they did that amazingly. So they did innovate in that way, but essentially it's still Dark Souls. Like, they could have made this Dark Souls 4 and
no one would
the
have.
exact game.
Yeah,
like
you
wouldn't even have to like rename it. You just Dark Souls 4, not remake it. You wouldn't have to redo any of the voice acting or anything. It wouldn't have mattered. Just put Dark Souls 4 on it, same game, and been like, that's
it
like,
absolutely looks like Dark Souls. I'm not gonna lie.
They were calling it like a new IP, which I mean, technically it is.
Technically,
I'm just like, I mean, it's not really though.
But
like,
is it really?
Like, that'd be like if LeBron James went to another team and then went by like a LeDron Brains or something like that. It's like, no, man,
I'm the new guy. I'm a new dude.
Look at we've never seen a rookie like this in the league. Like, he's amazing. Like, he just has like a mustache on. Like, his number's 32 instead. Like,
oh man, that'd be funny.
But
anyway, so to kind of to add on what you're saying, so I think that game went for $59.99. I don't think they did a price increase for the next gen versions.
I didn't know that.
So I'm guessing. I'm not sure. I don't think
I got it for free.
Oh, shut up. Anyways, it sold almost 700. It almost made revenue $720 million. Okay, now we don't know their budget. I don't know the budget for the game. It's been in development for a long time, so probably pretty high, at least 100 mil, I'm sure. But then obviously you got to factor in all the expenses and costs, making it, labor, shipping, physical copies, or especially overseas, especially with oil prices going crazy right now. And then you sell the retail avenues digitally and physically. I know GameStop's, they take their 30% cut, 20% cut from new titles. And then I don't know what Sony, Microsoft, and Steam's storefronts take, or Epic. I don't know if it was on Epic Games, but I don't know what their cuts are, but obviously they get a cut. So obviously the whole 720 million is not all for them, but that's still pretty damn good money, revenue wise. But the bigger question is, and this is kind of where this is what EA doesn't talk to us about, what you and I understand, but what they won't say to the public, because a lot of them don't want to hear this, or maybe not. They may not understand it as well, but it's the what's after the sale. It's the after the sale. That's what they're worried about, because that's what they've realized is where the real money is at. You can get the initial purchase, but now they're trying to figure out what you do after that initial purchase. So it's like and that works with any company, even my company, where we sell gloves, right? It's great to get people to finally make a purchase on our online portal. But what do we do to keep them in our cycle, to keep them in our ecosystem, to where they can feel comfortable make recurring purchases? And that's the key. And that's where, but unfortunately, it's also where the crafty shit comes in and the schemy shit comes in, because they haven't found a really, really good way, like a really, I guess, consumer nice way to get people to stay in the ecosystem and keep buying, right? Now, for a company like who owns FromSoft? Is it Bandai? I forget who owns them, but
Bandai.
Whoever owns, maybe they're not as, they're not as aggressive with that as EA might be. So maybe they're fine with the initial purchase and let that go. They don't need to try to gouge anything else out of their consumers, but EA obviously does, and Activision, and a lot of other companies do. And that's the key, right? The recurring purchase. What do you do after you get them in? You want to keep them in. Because you don't want them to sell the game. That's the last thing you want them to do. Because as
there's used product out, and then they don't get cuts out on that.
Yeah, and especially and also I'm also thinking is like, how many people of this? I mean, you said 70% of PlayStation players got the second boss, but I'm still wondering how many of these people, because we saw a lot of negative reviews. A lot of people didn't even know it was Dark Souls. I wonder how many of them returned to the game and got a full refund or a partial refund, because then obviously that factors in. But obviously, if a game gets used, if they return it or they trade it in or whatever have you, GameStop, as we know, will take a higher cut of that resale, right? And so they get even less out of that. And so the publishers don't want that. They want trying to do everything they can to prevent that from
not even
happening.
less. They don't get anything out of pre-owned sales.
Oh, really? So where's the other 30% go?
So the only thing that GameStop so their profit margin is just what they paid for the game. So depending on let's say you probably go to trade in Elden Ring right now, you probably get $25 for it, maybe 30 still, but probably 25. It sells for 55. So 25 of that per game is profit.
Okay. I was
that's if they sell it for that 55. They could pay 25 for it and then later on sell it for 30.
I was just going by the percentage that I was once told years ago, that you showed me actually, for what GameStop, the percentage wise, what they took from any pre-owned game sale. But okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure in things like they into that number they figure things in like cost of repackaging and stuff like that. Like they take all that into consideration too.
Re-stickering.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
So
repackaging.
But no, the original, so like FromSoft Bandai don't get any,
but they don't get any. Okay, even less than, even more of a reason for why they don't want games to be traded in. So that's why they're trying to do everything they can to keep the people playing any given game, which is why I don't agree with the wording EA had used back then, because that was like 5, 6, 7 years ago when they said that. They didn't mean single player games are dead. They just mean single player games aren't profitable for them. That's what
they're dead for them.
But they can't say that, right? Because then they're going to be even more evil than they already are, right? I mean, they should have just said it, just played into it, because they got to know that everyone hates them. They should have just fucking played it with, like, be the curly mustache villain, just like they should have been like, you know what, y'all. What we don't think the games are good. We saw Spider-Man, we saw God of War, we saw Nier Automata, we saw Elden Ring, we saw this and that. It's just they don't make money for us. Like, that's poor people money. We want mega money. All right, that's why. That's what we really meant by single player games are dead. And unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is. But like that's kind of like the understanding of it. But like I still don't mind microtransactions or MTXs if they're like not egregious or not detrimental to the game. I don't think people should really be complaining if it's there, as long as it's not in your face, and as long as it doesn't like take away from the game you're playing, or if what they're offering you, just like I said, like that doesn't like impact the game like in a major way. And that goes for the online portion too. I'm not talking just single player shit, even online portion too. Like, because you don't want to play an online game and, like you're saying, walk into a FIFA Ultimate situation where it's like, even if you're especially if you're coming in a little bit late, and like it's just last thing you want to do is come into a game that you maybe discovered a little late, but you're really excited to play it and you want to play online, and then you find out that you can't fucking play online because everyone's already jumped on the wagon and they're like no, like unless you spent $2,000 on this shit, you're not gonna be able to have a good time on this. And it's like, well, that makes no damn sense. Like I didn't know this was the fucking elite club, for millionaires only, and I can only play it unless I'm a millionaire. Like, no one wants that, So as long as that's the case too, like I don't think it should be a problem. Loot boxes, that's a different story because of the RNG aspect of it. But like, if I think your suggestion is really nice, especially like not getting repeats of shit and also not just giving me more fucking currency, like it's just, if I'm putting the money in to get chances to open up these boxes, then you on the other end should respect that and give me something worth my time, right? Because I feel that would create better goodwill with those consumers who are willing to purchase it, which will probably lead them to purchase more. Because it's like, if they know for a fact that they're going to get something that they don't have every time, honestly, that would make me more excited to keep doing that, right? Because like if I'm like buying Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, right? Because it's kind of similar. People say it's not, but I think it is. You open a pack, you don't know what the fuck you're going to get, right? you can get doubles, triples out the wazoo. Especially if you buy a box that has like 36 packs in it, you're gonna get doubles, right? But if I knew that I was gonna get something new, like if I was gonna get like a ultra rare or secret rare, a new one in like every pack or in every box or whatever like that, if I knew, I'd be like, fuck, I'd be more inclined to buy it. I'd be more inclined to buy it. But then again, it might lead to more better immediate sales, but it might lead to worse long-term sales because the people will be able to get what they need a lot quicker and a lot sooner. Sure. And so even though they'll be happy with you, they'll be more happy with you, your long-term profits would suffer. Because like and so like that's like your double-edged sword, right? So either make your consumers happy or make your shareholders happy. And for EA and Activision and other big guys, they care more about their shareholders than they do about their consumer base. And unfortunately, the consumer base doesn't seem to care enough to just stop doing that, to just stop doing this shit. And protests by just not buying anything and showing and telling them that that we're kind of done with this bullshit. And so yeah, that's about it. But that's about it. We got to wrap this up here today. Any other final comments you want to say, Dave, before we wrap this up here?
I mean, just that this is, there's gonna be how to put this without like taking a real hard stance on a certain aspect of our life. When we live in a society that is run the way it is, there is always going to be negatives for the consumer. Like, you're never going to have a business relation with a company where it's all positives for you, right? Like, even buying like food that you normally buy, like the inherent built-in negative is that you are paying them more for this product than it costs them to produce and make and everything. Now, that's very low end. That would be great if every one of our purchases was like that. But, the system we live in, it encourages businesses to make the most profit humanly possible. And it discourages them from taking care of the customer to the extent of making sure they're not pissed off enough to stop buying their stuff. So if they know that their customer base is never going to not buy their stuff, like Madden or Call of Duty, then they can do whatever they want. And there's nothing encouraging them to stop. So like, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but like, this shit's not going to change. The most we can do is hopefully like stem the tide enough to where it changes slowly, so we get used to it. So it doesn't hurt as much as it changes.
So negative.
Because it's gonna continue to change. It's gonna continue to get worse. And we just have to get used to it and find ways around it.
At least we don't have online passes anymore. So,
true.
We'll take that.
We did stomp that one out. That's true.
At least we don't have that anymore, because that went on for like 3 years. It was some of the worst 3 years of my fucking life, and I'm still feeling the repercussions of that shit to this day. Yeah,
sometimes you run into it. Yeah.
I'm still running into this to this day. When you go back to play old games, I'm still running into it. It sucks. Anyway, guys, that's this depressing episode of the podcast this week. But yeah, so we'll see you guys next time. We put this up every Sunday, or try to at least. But yeah, I've been streaming more often. I don't have set days. I try to do at least twice a week though, with one of those usually being a Friday night. But I try to do whenever I can. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye guys.